and we still have no idea what we're doing.
It's actually looking pretty good. So someone tried to break in, and he figured instead of trying to get it all straightened out and everything, he'll just buy a new door.
Save himself some time, like what we should have done with the hat. But all right, well, it's clearly raining, which means that we can't do anything outside. So we're slowly body working Hunter's 240. We haven't worked on it in a few weeks, just from his schedule and my schedule, and then last time I think he was over here, we were working on my truck. So we're finally back to getting onto the 240 again, which means it's time to pick back up where we left off. So I've already sanded down the Bondo. I threw on a 220 or a 120 grip pad and just started smoothing this out some, because last time that we did this, he had to leave early. So it got a very rough coat of Bondo over the top of it. So we just came back in here, started smoothing it back out, and there's some visible low spots that you can see that we're going to have to fill first. And then once we do that, we'll probably do the thin coat over the whole thing, and then we'll block it. So I'm just going to throw some Bondo here on a few spots, let it dry, we'll D8 again, and then we'll see what we look like from there, and see what we need to do after that. So. Alright, that was too much.
Okay, stop, giggle, stop. 17 black. You can stop now. 17 black. You can stop, giggle!
The house always has the edge, Roy. The house is edging.
I'm just kidding. So we got this all smooth and sanded down, but the problem is, I mean, when you're standing far back, it actually looks pretty good. But the problem is that there's a slight layer of stuff that is not flat. So we're going to get this giant squeegee on here, and we're going to squeegee this whole thing and make this very, very smooth. Smoother than it already is. And then from there, we'll probably block it down. We might hit it with 220 first. 120, 220, then block it. Alright, you guys just missed it, but I took all that Bondo just then and did one big thin layer across the top of this thing. And it's actually looking pretty good. So we should be able to just block it here in a bit after that dries up. Should be able to just, I mean, if I had a cheese grater, I'd say cheese grate the high spots and then block out the rest, and it should be good to throw some primer on. Problem is I lost my cheese grater. So if you don't know what a cheese grater is, well, it looks like a cheese grater, and whenever the Bondo is not fully set in, or the filler, you take the cheese grater and you knock down the rough spots, or the tall spots, where you might have an edge from spreading. And that's what that's for. But unfortunately, I cannot find mine. I have no idea where it went. I saw it earlier, and I was like, hey, don't forget that. You're going to need that later. And then I completely forgot it, and I have no idea where it went. So Hunter is over here messing with his door. This has a different kind of, looks like someone spray painted it or something. I don't know what they did, but we had to do it that way his new door handle would fit, because on his old door, the hole for the door handle was completely destroyed because someone tried to break in, And he figured instead of trying to get it all straightened out and everything, he'll just buy a new door. Save himself some time, like what we should have done with the hatch. But I think the hatch is basically there. So we're gonna let this dry. It's already tacking up pretty well. And we'll see you guys here in a bit. All right, after throwing a 40 grit pad on, after some thinking and looking and doing, I have knocked all that stuff that we just put on kind of down into all my low spots, and I got my 2 high spots back down the bare metal. That way we're not just building up Bondo on top of this. That was Dad told me to do that. He was like, just get that down the bare metal and see where that new layer sits in the middle. And it sits actually pretty flush. So I went ahead, kind of just knocked everything down and got that whole side looking pretty good. This in the middle still needs some work because there's like a big slit that did not get filled, or this right there. And then that side is gonna need some work as well. So there's just, and then really shaping this edge, which we're gonna have to do with blocks, because there is some small spots right in here where it is not perfect. So, and the whole thing does not have to be perfect, but we are trying to get it as nice as possible, and we still have no idea what we're doing. So we're just gonna keep on going with this until it gets good enough. I figured if you spend at least, I don't know, 1,000 hours in working on something, you'll usually figure it out by hour 800 or 900. So we still got 700 more hours to go, and hopefully within the next 700 we'll have this thing figured out. And then that means that we can start doing all the other vehicles around here that have problems, like the step side and the short wide and the BMW and everything else. So stay tuned.
Are we rolling?
We are rolling.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to spray on some guide coat to be able to help us find where the low spots are. I mean, some of these spots you can obviously tell are a little low, but we're really just trying to solidify a good, clean, smooth finish here. So that's what this is going to be used for. So I'm going to go ahead and get to spraying this, and then afterwards you guys are going to see, like, after we've sanded it back down to see where everything's low, to be able to kind of really show you guys what this stuff is good for. All right, cool. Now that we got that sprayed on, Jackson for me, light coats, because this is not a primer, this is not a paint, it is simply guide coat. So now that we got this sprayed on, we're gonna go ahead and let that dry for a second. Then we're gonna get to sanding to be able to see like all the little low spots so we can fill in what's left. And hopefully we'll have a nice smooth deck lid by the end of tonight.
Yeah, what he said. So basically, what this does is it's almost like a chalk, almost. And it sits on top of the paint, and it'll sit in the low spots. And as you block away, because we're going to use blocks for this, the DA is like a foam pad. So whenever you push down on it, it'll flex and give and resist and stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some harder foam blocks, wrap them up in sandpaper, and we're just going to kind of brush away at this thing and kind of sand down. And where the black remains is where we know that that's a low spot. That's going to have to be filled. And we'll just basically do that until there's no guide coat left. And whenever we sand everything down and block it and it's good, we'll just hit it with some 320 and then throw down some primer and then go from there.
The area, and then pick that low spot and start working that area. And you can find it with your straight edge from your good transition here. We know this is a really good factory transition. So we work from that spot to this edge, and we can see that we have a heavy low spot. So I would work this low spot first, because then we can go flat to flat. Fix that low spot there, and then we can start working our transition that way. And that's the smartest way, I think, to go about it at this point. Because you're adding it and you're digging it out. You're adding it and you're digging it out. Let's find a good spot to start and then just work our way across the deck lid. That's what I would do.
Okay. So after using our guide coat and starting to block it down, we can see lots of visibly low spots and high spots. So like what he said, our biggest low spot's in this area. So we're just gonna start by fixing that and then building off of that from here to here. Up here, there's a transition where it needs to go up some and then flow out. Because the trunk does that maneuver, whatever that maneuver is. So from afar it looks good, but whenever you actually get some guide coat on it, it starts showing how bad it actually is. But that's what we're gonna fix. I don't know if you guys can see that. That is so smooth. I went ahead and, oh my gosh. I might just be the goat. We are going to now move on to the next spot. So now that all of this is all flat and flush, we'll get this little low spot that's right here and this one right here, and we'll just keep on working our way across, exactly like what my dad was talking about. We'll just work our way across all these low spots, fill them in as we go, and then in the end it should just be one super smooth layer. And then this corner, I don't know what we're gonna do about this corner because it's not really bad. This spot right in here needs work. This spot right in here needs some work. But other than that, I mean, this is all factory and I can't sand until we take this thing off. So we're just gonna leave that in there for now and work our way across.
Okay.
All right, JDs and Lentilman. We worked at this some more tonight, and we have all of this like perfect. There's still some small stuff that we gotta do in here. I decided to do another layer of filler, and the filler is now too tall. So right in here is a little bit too tall. Right in here is a little bit too tall. So we gotta sand this down, get it all flush. But other than that, I mean, it is really smooth. And what Hunter was saying off camera, this thing has come a long way from what it was. So the fact that we got it this smooth, we're getting there. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. Anyways, he's gonna put some primer on these little raw spots just so they don't rust up at all until next Tuesday. And I think I'll just make this the end of this week's video. And we will see you guys next time.